Hey folks, welcome back to XL 10 Minute Leaders Live. My name is Graham Brown. Stick around for the next 10 minutes if you are a business owner because you will learn something. This is probably one of the most interesting subjects for business owners is buying and selling businesses, valuations, etc. So to help us in that world, I'm joined by Simon Bedard from Sydney. Simon, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Graham.
It's great to have you here. So 10 minutes, we're going to talk about everything we talked about in the above. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do this then. So let's do the business card thing first. Do you have a business card? If you do, what does it say?
I do have a business card, and it's funny because it doesn't seem to come out very much these days with COVID. But no, I look, obviously, other than being the CEO and founder of Exit Advisory Group, really, look, what we do is business sales and acquisitions, so that whole sort of M&A piece. But we do a bunch of advisory work, which is really designed to help business owners work out where do they want to go on this business journey, where are they today, and of course, how do they get there?
And how did you get into that? What's your background?
Yeah, so I spent my early part of my life in the investment space. Always looking at things and saying, well, if you want to put $1 into something and get $2 out one day, what actually needs to happen in the middle for you to achieve those goals? And so I always came at, the world and business from very much a value perspective. Of course, left sort of institutional banking and all that stuff, started a business, bought another business, ended up selling out of it all, and went through that entire kind of buy, build, sell cycle. And I think that's a really interesting journey that teaches you a lot. It certainly taught me as much as I've learned in any MBA or any other degree I've done, but it certainly gave me a passion for business and really a passion for what business owners do. So having been all through that cycle, we realised there was a lot of need and a lot of business owners out there who need some help on their journey.
Let's talk about those guys, the business owners. Sometimes they're very smart people. Often they are a little bit blindsided, stubborn, because they have to be a business owner in some respects, rather than go back to the normal world where they may have come from.
Yeah.
What is it about them? What did they often not know and get wrong? Because sometimes they can be kings of their own kingdom and not see the reality. So when it comes to building businesses, valuing, selling businesses, the question I want to ask is, what do most business owners get wrong?
Do you know, I'll just the first thing, I think you're right. I mean, look, everybody's kind of smart in their own way. Everyone has their own genius zone, right? People can be really smart and super, super good at one area, but it doesn't mean they're going to be smart and super good at everything. And so that's the greatest challenge, I think, posed to most business owners is they get into their little space, laser focus, and you have to have that to achieve things. But, as you said before, you do get blindsided by the stuff that is not in your wheelhouse. And I think for us, I see a massive injustice in a lot of this sort of stuff because, I'm one of these people, and call me a bit corny here, but I actually think that business owners, I think entrepreneurs and business owners are the ones that actually truly change the world. These are the people who see something that's not working in our world, our society, and say, I'm actually going to do something about it and not just sit on the couch and whinge. And so they get up, they start doing things, they take on enormous amounts of risks, they put in capital, they take on all the risk and do all this work to make that difference and solve that problem. And some of those problems aren't glorious, world-changing things, they just see it as something that doesn't fit. And that's kind of cool, I think. And yet so many of these business owners work their guts out and then they get to the end of this, proverbial marathon and then don't kind of get rewarded for all of that risk and effort. And so we exist fundamentally to help change that. We think business owners deserve more and they need help to cross that finish line and do it in a way that's appropriate for them and their family.
Generally, where does that help have the biggest uplift? Is it, for example, just helping them understand the process, or is there more sort of fundamental work that needs to be done in gearing a business towards an exit?
Yeah. The first question in all of that is actually working out what's important to you as a business owner. I find a lot of us, and I'll put my hand up, I've fallen into this trap myself, where we're charging along, we're making progress, and we set all these fabulous business goals. Hey, we're going to get to this next level of revenue and we're going to conquer that hill over there. And all that stuff's cool, right? That's what drives a lot of us. My view, though, is that business owners, and what I try to help them realize is they need to kind of step out of that for a moment and kind of go a little bit more personal. You see, I'm one of these people too that thinks like none of us are actually born to do business. We're actually born to live our life. And the most important thing we can do is kind of answer, what do we want for our lives? Because then you can go back and shape your business to deliver you the life you want. So, I think plenty of business owners get caught up in their business and they do see it as almost an extension of themselves. In some cases, I've seen business owners very much attach a sense of their own personal self-worth to their company. And let's be honest, that's not healthy. That's not the way to be looking at it. A business is an asset. It's one of the many assets you'll probably own in your business, but it's also probably one of the largest assets you'll ever own. So you need that asset to be driving and delivering particular outcomes, and that's not just a financial goal. It's how do you want to live your life? How do you want to spend your most important resource, which is your time? And so helping people kind of get clear on that to me that's your entire, you want an exit plan? It's not saying, well, I'm going to sell my company on this day for that amount of money. Sure, that stuff's part of it. It's saying, what kind of life do I want to live? How do I want to spend the time I've got available? How do I use the resources I have available? And how do I deploy them to achieve that objective? And if that means that I need to climb that hill and get to 10 million revenue or whatever it might be, cool. But that's now aligned with a deeper sense of purpose.
I imagine most business owners don't have that. They don't have the alignment, I would say, rather than the purpose. They don't know how to align that. And obviously that's why people like you are there. From my experience, I'm an entrepreneur for 20 years on the wrong side of 45. So I've met a lot of entrepreneurs in my peer group. And I find that I've met a lot of people who've exited. And what's interesting is you meet the people who exit and nobody generally discusses the terms of their exit. So all you know is they're exited. They are exiting. They're in the process. They're in a lock-in. They're on the way out, or they've successfully done and dusted. And that appears to be a success. And in most cases, it probably is. But in a lot of cases, we don't know. And when I get down into the detail, there are a lot of exits which are done really badly. And people didn't get the terms that they wanted. Describe, how does that happen? You imagine if somebody's selling a business or exiting or being acquired, then they're going to have a good time at the other end of it, no?
Yeah, you'd like to think. And I guess if that was all happening, then probably Exit Advisory Group wouldn't exist because everybody would be doing it well. I think like anything, if you go on a journey and you're, finding yourself in the middle of a jungle that you've never traversed before, that can be kind of a pretty scary journey, right? Like you don't know what's under that rock or through the next set of bushes. And let's be honest, there are lots of things that you can trip over and hurt yourself on. So like anything in life, I think if you can have a guide that's walked those jungles and can point out some of those things to you and just help you navigate, hey, you're still going to make mistakes. You're still going to not do things perfectly. But if you can just avoid some of the regular potholes and problems that other people have already stepped in, then you're probably going to end up far better off than most people.
What would
so definitely
potholes be? Just an example.
Yeah,
very common pothole.
Okay, so one of the great things I see is lots of people who've sold their companies, they'll tell you, oh yeah, like I got tapped on the shoulder. Somebody came and approached me, and they get swept up in this whole thing because they've never sold a company before. And let's be honest, somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, we'd like to buy your company. Talk about massive ego inflation, right? All of a sudden you're feeling like you're king of the world, like people want me. This is somebody who actually wants to buy me. Wow. And of course, they're lovely people, aren't they? They're friendly. Usually they've come from somebody and there's a lovely friendship, relationship there. It's beautiful. And you go, really feel connected with these people. And then, of course, they start asking for information and they start drilling into things. And then you suddenly realize business owners, and it creeps up on them, they realize they've now got a second job. They do their day job. Now they're engaging with all these people. And they're doing it because you're still excited, right? And then 6 months in, the person you had that relationship with isn't kind of there so much. You're dealing a lot with the underlings and the lawyers and the accountants and the whoever's. And then 6 to 9 months in, the offer that you thought you had gets lowballed, and all these things change, and they find themselves in a really, really ugly scenario where they didn't expect to be. And really what's happened is that those business owners have been put through the buyer's process. And that buyer's process is very clever. It's well practiced, and it's designed to get them the best outcome. Whereas if you actually want to sell your business and exit, you kind of want to do it on your own terms. And that means having a robust plan. That means actually having a team of advisors around you who are dedicated to getting you the right outcome. And by the way, the right outcome isn't always about money. Sometimes it's about terms. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about legacy. There's so many of these little variables that can cause somebody, coming full circle, to actually achieve an exit, but then look back and actually feel dissatisfied. Dissatisfied about the way maybe the staff were treated, about the brand that they built, about the things they didn't realize were important to them until it was too late. And so, look, I guess it's really a matter of people being really, really clear about where they want to go. I liken this to it, and by the way, I use this same process whenever I've bought properties and things like that. I always create a little bit of a list. What are the things I can't live without? What are the things I can't live with? And maybe what are some of those things I'm willing to kind of compromise on? And I think once you start to get clear on things like that, and this, by the way, I think relates to any process where you're heavily involved or you're making a big investment. But if you can be really clear on those things, you actually start to make decisions in a way that's just completely unemotional. Well, sorry, you've ticked one of my can't live with boxes. This is not going to work. So either that changes on your end or it just doesn't make sense to keep going. And it's a wonderful actual position to be in, and a wonderful position to negotiate from.
Yeah, great advice, Simon. Simon Bedard, everybody. Where do we find out more about you?
Look, probably the best thing is to jump on LinkedIn. You can follow me there, or reach out and send me a connection request if you like. If you do send me a connection request, please just make a little comment that you actually heard us on this podcast, because then I have some context as to why you're reaching out, because otherwise it's kind of a bit weird. You can definitely get us at exitadvisory.com.au, but certainly LinkedIn is a great way to connect.
Simon, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Absolute pleasure, Graham. Thanks so much for having me.